On the night of April 4th, 1991, 20-year-old Angie Hammond was talking to her fiancé Rob from a payphone. She told him that she was very tired and just wanted to get home and take a bath. During the conversation, Angie noticed a suspicious man who drove past her several times in his pickup truck. Eventually, the stranger pulled up next to her, got out of his vehicle, and started shining a flashlight on the ground as if he was looking for something. Meanwhile, Angie continued talking to Rob, describing the man's strange behavior and growing increasingly anxious about his presence. Just a few minutes later, Rob heard Angie scream, followed by strange words spoken by a male voice. "I didn't really need to use the phone anyway." Then the call was cut off. Angie Marie Hammond was born on February 9, 1971 in Kansas City, Kansas, to Christopher and Marsha. She had a brother and a sister. In 1975, the Hammond family moved to the small town of Clinton, Missouri. In her childhood, Angie was a happy, sociable, and energetic girl. Those who knew her said her personality remained the same as she grew older. "She was just a fun girl who loved being around people," said Christopher, Angie's father. Later, she enrolled at Central Missouri State University. Her boyfriend, 18-year-old Rob Shafer, proposed to Angie in January 1991 after learning that she was pregnant. The couple was reportedly excited about becoming parents and getting married. Those who knew Rob and Angie described their relationship as happy. They moved into a mobile home together, and Rob planned to join the Army later that same year. On April 4th, 1991, Angie and Rob had a pleasant, busy day attending a barbecue at her mother's house. Afterward, Angie drove Rob to his family's home because he had promised to look after his brother until his mother returned from work. For the next few hours until around 11 p.m., Angie spent time with her friend Kyla. At about 11:15 p.m., she called Rob from a payphone in the food barn parking lot, 7 blocks away from his family's home. She told her fiancé that she was too tired to go anywhere and would instead head home to take a bath. Since they didn't have a phone at their home, Angie used the nearby payphone whenever she needed to make a call. While they were talking, Angie noticed a green Ford pickup truck circling the block. Eventually, the driver, a man Angie described as a dirty, bearded man with a mustache, wearing a dark baseball cap and overalls, pulled up near her. The truck had a distinctive sticker on the rear window, depicting a fish jumping out of the water. The man got out of the truck, immediately took out a flashlight and began looking at the ground around his vehicle. Confused by his behavior, Angie asked the stranger if he needed to use the phone. He told her no and simply stood nearby. By this point, Angie started to feel uneasy. If he didn't need to use the phone and the nearby store was closed, why was he standing there? And why had he circled the block several times before stopping? Strangely, the next thing Rob heard was Angie's scream and the man's voice saying, "I didn't really need to use the phone anyway," before the call abruptly ended. Rob rushed out of his parents' house, got into his car, and drove toward the grocery store, hoping to help Angie. On the way, he passed a pickup truck matching the description Angie had given, moving in the opposite direction. He said he heard his fiancée shout his name. Rob slammed on the brakes, made a sharp turn, and gave chase after Angie and her abductor. However, as Rob was braking and turning, he damaged his transmission. He managed to follow the green pickup for just over 3 kilometers before his car broke down completely. He could only watch helplessly as the Ford disappeared into the distance. He was able to see the letters XY on the license plate, but the rest of the number was obscured by dirt. The Missouri State Police conducted extensive searches for Angie Hammond, both on the ground and by air. They also checked hundreds of green Ford pickup trucks from the late 1960s to early 70s, but were unable to find the one belonging to her abductor. It was confirmed that Rob's car transmission had indeed malfunctioned. However, at first police were skeptical of his version of events. Rob fully cooperated with the investigation from the beginning and passed a polygraph test. A few days later, witnesses came forward, reporting that they had seen a strange man in a green pickup loitering around the parking lot that night, which confirmed Rob's story. Angie's family never believed that Rob was in any way involved in her abduction. Soon, he was cleared of all suspicion. The police continued searching for Angie, but to no avail. Dozens of investigators pursued hundreds of leads, but the case remained unsolved. They were unable to find any trace of the missing 20-year-old woman or the pickup truck that had presumably taken her from the payphone. There were several reports of sightings of Angie from various states and even from Canada, but none of them were confirmed. Perhaps the most intriguing of these sightings occurred in Canada in September 1991. A witness named Russell Smith claimed to have spotted Angie in Selkirk, Manitoba, Canada. He saw her exit a pharmacy and get into a green pickup truck with a fish decal on the rear window. Smith recalled the encounter when a month later he noticed a missing person poster with her face on it. "I know I saw that girl. I'm sure of it. I might forget someone's name, but I never forget a face," Smith told reporters. Although this lead initially seemed promising, investigators were unable to confirm his story. With no solid evidence, Angie's case soon went cold. There's someone out there who has information, but they may not even realize it. Until that person comes forward, there's really not much more we can do, said Clinton Police Detective Damon Parsons, 6 months after Angie's disappearance. Law enforcement speculated that Angie's abduction could be linked to 2 other cases involving women who had disappeared within a 160-kilometer radius of Clinton. The first case involved 42-year-old Trudy Darby, who disappeared in Max Creek, Missouri, on January 19, 1991. That evening, she called her son to report a suspicious man in the parking lot of the convenience store where she worked. Her son arrived within minutes and found both his mother and the man missing. Sadly, Trudy was later found murdered. Her half-brothers, Marvin Chaney and Jesse Rush, were eventually convicted of the crime. The other case that police believed might be connected involved the disappearance of 30-year-old Cheryl Kenny, another convenience store worker from Nevada, Missouri, located 112 kilometers from Max Creek. She vanished on the night of February 27, 1991, from the parking lot of her store. She was never found, and her case remains unsolved. Over the years, investigators worked with several suspects, but none were definitively linked to Angie Hammond's case. In a series of letters Jesse Rush sent to a former cellmate he had befriended while awaiting trial for Trudy Darby's murder, he hinted that he and his half-brother were responsible for several other unsolved killings. Though some believed that Marvin Chaney and Jesse Rush might have been involved in Angie's abduction, the 2 men never admitted guilt in her case, and no evidence linking them to Angie's disappearance was ever found. Serial killer Kenneth McDuff also came under suspicion. McDuff, whose killing spree spanned from 1966 to 1992, was known for targeting young women, and in the early 1990s he lived in Kansas City, Missouri, about 120 kilometers from Clinton. McDuff confessed to numerous murders but denied involvement in Angie's abduction, and as with Chaney and Rush, no evidence was found to connect him to her case. On April 4, 2021, the 30th anniversary of Angie's abduction, the Clinton Police Department announced that they had a new lead in the investigation. According to police officials, they received an anonymous letter suggesting that Angie Hammond's abduction might have been a case of mistaken identity and that the perpetrator had actually intended to kidnap another woman. The letter was postmarked April 4, 1991, the day Angie was abducted. However, since then, the police have not made any further statements regarding the letter or the investigation related to it. Authorities were also contacted by an anonymous witness who claimed to have information about the case. The witness promised to contact the authorities soon with important details, but they never reached out again. Unfortunately, Marsha passed away in 2021, never knowing what had happened to her daughter. Rob Shafer was deeply affected by Angie's abduction. He felt that he had failed to protect her. He eventually moved away from the area and started a family of his own. To this day, the fate of Angie Hammond and the identity of her abductor remain a mystery. And that concludes our coverage of this tragic story. If you found this video informative or thought-provoking, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more updates on cases like these. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Feel free to share this video with your friends and give it a thumbs up if you found it valuable. Thank you for watching.